Sup? Thanks for clicking on this video. I just got back, literally walked through the door like less than 5 minutes ago from seeing an early screening of Agatha Christie's Death on the Nile. This is the newest movie in the Hercule Poirot series. Obviously, the first one is Murder on the Orient Express, which I got my poster for it right there. The one I have in my home. I also have one in my office at work, which is my second favorite movie of all time. As of this recording, it's my second favorite movie is Murder on the Orient Express. So I went into Death on the Nile with very high hopes. It was hard because, you set the bar, Murder on the Orient Express is my second favorite movie of all time. Where do we go from there? Can this be better than it? Is it going to be worse? Yes, of all the Agatha Christie novels, Murder on the Orient Express is also my favorite that I've read of the Hercule Poirot. I haven't read them all. I've definitely read all the ones that you're told to read. Like if you're going to start reading Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot, you're told these are the ones to read. I do think Murder on the Orient Express is the best. Death on the Nile is in the top 3. I'm not 100% sure. I got to reread one, but I'll get to that in a minute. So I'm going to try to do this review without spoilers. Just because the movie hasn't come out yet. I really want people to go see it. I did. Overall, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was really good. Was it better than Murder on the Orient Express? No. Did it have a lot of the same charm? Yes. Did it have weird moments? It had one really weird moment towards the end. And this isn't a spoiler. I'm just saying the last scene of this movie is going to be very divisive for a lot of fans. I didn't mind because I think I know where it's going. And if they do get a third one, I think I know where it's going. This movie's gotten delayed a lot due to COVID-19. The pandemic has pushed it from coming out in 2020 to coming out to 2022. So that sucks because I've wanted to watch this movie for a while. It's a lot like Ghostbusters Afterlife. I just wanted to see these movies, and I couldn't because they were unavailable. So without getting into spoilers, I'm just going to kind of give a very rough overview of the plot. Basically, Poirot is in Egypt where he comes across his good friend Book, who is in Murder on the Orient Express. In the movie, he's not in the actual book, Death on the Nile. I'll get to that stuff in a second. But he runs across Book and his mother. They invite him to join them on their adventure as they go to celebrate their friends, acquaintance, Lynetta Ridgway's wedding to Simon Doyle. Eventually, everyone gets on the ship, the Karnak, and it's the wedding parties traveling on the ship. Of course, it's a Poirot novel. Somebody dies. Again, I liked this movie. I thought this movie was really well done. And without, again, going into spoilers, which is, if I go any more into the plot, that's where I'm going to have to go. So I'm going to try not to. So, as a transition of the book to the screen, I thought it was done fairly well. I thought the changes they made a lot of sense. As much as there are people who are saying you can't change the book when you turn it into a movie, I think there are always times where you can. And this is one of them. This is such a dense novel that trying to put everything in here, it's going to leave the movie very cluttered, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that just isn't there. There are a lot of, this is one of those movies where Murder on the Orient Express, you piece together who they were and how they came in for the final thing. Not everyone is a suspect. There are people who are literally just there. And the novel kind of gives them all something. Either they're alibied right away due to the circumstances of the events, or they are suspects and they all have something minor that they're found out that they've been doing. And you can't do that in this movie. You can't. It wastes way too much time. You got 2 hours to tell this story. And if you got all these other stories, you're just taking away time. I think as I was driving home, I was trying to figure out, because I haven't read the book since 2020, I think. I reread it in 2020 when I thought the movie was actually going to be coming out. I reread the book, and yeah, I think they cut or combined 6 characters from the movie, at least. From the book, they lost 6 characters, which none of them were great losses. Of course, I mentioned Book isn't in the book, and neither is his mother. They flat out replace 2 other characters. Just flat out. There's a guy and his mom who are on the ship, and they just flat out threw those characters out and replaced them with Book and his mother, and let them follow a similar path. The book is definitely more of an outline than canon. Like, don't go into it expecting the book, because it's not. The biggest thing I noticed right off the bat, other than scene arrangement, because it opens with a flashback to Poirot in the military, and it explains a little more about his love, Catherine, and that gets dealt into a little more right off the bat. Everyone in the book, a lot of them are on the boat just because they're traveling. Like, this is a trip down the Nile, and a bunch of people bought tickets to this boat, including the characters who need to be on this ship. They did away with that to simplify, and now everyone is connected, and it's a direct connection to Lynette and Simon's wedding. So now everyone is connected to that instead of, well, they just have tickets. And they just have tickets, and they just have tickets, and they just have tickets. So I liked that. I thought it streamlined it. It made it a lot easier to understand what was going on. And to anyone who's seen Murder on the Orient Express, has never read any of the books, it keeps them from going immediately, oh, well, they all have to be the killer. Because that's what happened on Murder on the Orient Express. They were all strangers, but you find out they all know each other, and they all killed him. Well, that's not the case. They come straight out at the beginning and say, yeah, all these people are connected through Lynette. So they come straight out and say it right off the bat, and that's cool. I had no problem with that change to the book. And again, there's some subtle things because you have to simplify, or again, they removed a bunch of plot lines. When you exile 6 characters, some plot lines get exiled with them, and that's fine. There's an exiled plot about a guy who is stealing jewelry and replacing it with fakes. That got exiled real quick. There's a plot about a terrorist and a soldier who Poirot knows. It's a character from other Poirot novels. Shows up, and he's looking for this guy. Again, it has nothing to do with the actual story, the main narrative of the story. So that's gone. There's another random side character who is gone. The Doctor is combined, because apparently that's what you do in Hercule Poirot novels, is you combine the Doctor with somebody else, because they did it in Murder on the Orient Express, where they combined ex-soldier with the Doctor and just make them one, because it just made sense. And in this one, they combined the Doctor with an acquaintance of Lynetta Ridgway from the book, who's in one scene, I think he's in one chapter of the book. So they just combined him with the Doctor, just to again help the storyline of they know each other, and there's now a Doctor on this boat. So they combine those characters. There are 2 different solicitors for Lynetta's net worth in the book, who are both trying to scheme, and they instead, I think they basically just shoved them together and went, you're one person. We don't need 2 of you. So it was fine. That part didn't bother me. The changes didn't bother me. In fact, they made one major change, which I'm not going into, but it did. I didn't realize they had changed it until it was already too far into what was going on, and it hit me, and then 3 minutes later it happened, and I was very surprised that they did it, and I was very surprised how they changed it. Again, I think it works. I think it works for the story. So I don't want to fault that. I do want to fault one thing, but it's a huge spoiler. It made no sense. It took me out of the movie. It was it shouldn't have. It should have been. It should have made sense. But it just doesn't. And I just can't work it out in my mind how it works. Um, that took me out. But I overall I enjoyed it. I think if he gets to do a third movie, if Kenneth Branagh gets to do a third Poirot, I think much like with Death on the Nile, where they mention, oh, there's been a murder on the Nile, even though that has nothing to do with it. He's there for completely different reasons. Although they do mention you solved that murder on the Nile towards the beginning of the movie. So he's back in Egypt, but it gets explained. They do somewhat explain it, so it makes sense. They do somewhat, but they do. But just like so, they set it up for Murder on the Orient Express. The next book was Death on the Nile, or the next movie. I think they did the same thing, or I hope they did the same thing. Because if they did, then they're going to do my other top Poirot novel as a third movie, which would make sense with how this movie ends. The only reason I think it's the one is because he mentions becoming a farmer, and he says he's going to farm something very specific. And from all the novels I've read, there's only one that mentions what he wants to farm, and that is the murder of Roger Ackroyd. I think this would be a very difficult book to translate into a movie, but I love this book. It is a great book, and if he gets to do a third one, I hope this is the one he goes with, because I think it fits the narrative he is telling with these movies. I think this would be a good fit for a third one. Again, he might also go, if he's only doing a trilogy, he might also take Curtains, which I've never read, so I can't, it's on the short list of the Poirot novels I haven't read that you're supposed to read. It's the only one I think I haven't actually read. I owned it once. I just never got around to it. I probably gonna have to reread this. I was gonna read Once Upon a Time in Hollywood next, once I finish what I'm reading now, because I just got the novelization and it's supposed to be different from the movie. But I might reread this and then read Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't know, but this is a great book. This is a great book. But yeah, overall, I think the movie keeps the same tone as Death on Murder on the Orient Express. I think I laughed out loud. The theater wasn't packed or anything. There was 6 or 7 people in it total for this early access screening. There were 6 or 7 of us in the theater, and other than one moment, which is the moment from the trailer where Book says that Poirot accuses everyone of murder, and Poirot goes, "Oh, that's a bad habit of mine." It's the only other time somebody else laughed, and I laughed a lot. But I love Murder on the Orient Express, so I was laughing at little nods to Murder on the Orient Express, little nods from scenes. And there was some other great Poirot dialogue within this movie. Overall, I don't think it is as good as Murder on the Orient Express. I think if Murder on the Orient Express is up here, I think Death on the Nile, it just falls short, which is fine. I mean, you can't go, well, this is my second favorite movie of all time. Well, the only way Death on the Nile could do better is to tie, which means it has to be better than The World's End, which that's already a high bar. No, I'm sorry, Clue. It has to be better than Clue. I'm just looking at the posters behind me, and World's End is next to Murder on the Orient Express, but Clue is actually number 3, which that's a hard task to beat, or it somehow has to be better than Murder on the Orient Express, but not as good as Gremlins 2, the new batch. It wasn't gonna do it. It was gonna go for the vault, and it wasn't gonna make it. So, and that's what it is. So I didn't go in with those super high expectations. I went in with very reasonable expectations, and it met my very reasonable expectations. As it stands in 2022 for movies, that have come out. Not that I've got a lot here. I've got 3 right now. I've got Scream, Hotel Transylvania, and this. This is my favorite movie of the year. So beat Scream. Beat Scream. It's my favorite movie of the year so far. We'll see. There's a lot of year left. We got 10 months here, and still the rest of February. Although I think Cyrano is the only other movie that's coming out this month that I really want to see. But anyways, definitely if you liked Murder on the Orient Express, check out Death on the Nile. It's a lot of fun. It's a very interesting movie. I actually have succeeded in talking about this movie for 15 minutes, and I did not spoil anything. So ha ha ha! I get to put no spoiler. Maybe I'm sure I'll talk about this movie another time, and I'll actually talk about what my thoughts were on the stuff that would be spoilers. Because I do have thoughts on them. I just don't want to put them on this video. I want to put no spoilers, but I do want to talk about them. I have no one to talk to. I have no one to talk to about it, but I want to talk to someone because I have thoughts, but no spoilers. So I'm gonna hold to that. Hold it to it, okay? All right, I'm gonna end this video before I start laying out spoilers. Like, comment, subscribe. You know what to do. I'll talk to you next time. Whenever that may be, check out my Lion King and a Goofy movie. It dropped earlier today. Next week, I cover Ants and Osmosis Jones? Or it's Osmosis Jones and Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. And the other movie is Rockadoodle. I know Ants, Rockadoodle, Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf, and Osmosis Jones are the other 4 kids movies I'm doing this month. I just can't remember who goes with who and who went where. Scooby-Doo's at the end. I know the last week of February is Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. I think it's with Osmosis Jones, which would make this one Rockadoodle and Ants, I think. I don't remember off the top of my head right now. I just remember the movies. All right, I'm Martin Primos. This is Rank the Movies. Have a good night, and I will talk to you later.